The galaxy had been at peace for 10,000 years. 47 different species lived together under one government called the Galactic Council. They had rules, laws, and fleets of ships that kept everyone safe. Wars were rare. Fighting was something from the old stories. The Council made sure everyone followed the rules. Then they found Earth. It happened 200 years ago. A Council scout ship was mapping distant stars when they detected strange signals. Radio waves, television broadcasts, nuclear signatures. Someone was there in a small yellow star system far from any major trade route. The Council sent a diplomatic vessel to make first contact. The meeting did not go well. The humans were not ready. They had just reached their own moon. They had primitive weapons and divided governments. When the Council ship appeared in their sky, the humans panicked. They fired missiles. They scrambled fighter jets. The Council vessel easily deflected everything, but the humans did not stop. They fought with everything they had, even though they could not win. The Council retreated and made a decision. Humanity was dangerous. Their planet was a death world, more hostile than 90% of inhabited systems. Heavy gravity, violent weather, deadly animals, disease everywhere. The fact that humans evolved in such conditions made them unpredictable, strong, aggressive. The Council voted to quarantine Earth. They placed automated defense stations around the entire solar system. No one could enter. No one could leave. Humanity was trapped in their own home, isolated from the rest of the galaxy. High Arbiter Zelnoth led the Council from his throne on the central world. He was old even for his species. His scales had turned silver with age, and his eyes had seen empires rise and fall. He believed in order, in rules, in keeping dangerous things locked away. The humans must stay contained, he told the Council chambers. They are not ready to join civilized society. Perhaps they never will be. Most agreed with him, but not everyone. Ambassador Kathrak was different. He belonged to the Vryn, a species known for their diplomatic skills and long memories. Kathrak had studied the human broadcasts that leaked through the quarantine. He listened to their music, read their literature, watched their history unfold through stolen transmissions. He saw something the others missed. Yes, humans were violent, but they were also creative, resilient. They fought each other, but they also saved each other. They destroyed, but they also built. They were contradictions wrapped in flesh. Kathrak argued in private meetings that the quarantine was wrong. We should teach them, he said. Guide them, not imprison them. But the Council did not listen. The quarantine remained. What the Council did not know was that humanity was watching too. They had found the defense stations, studied them, learned from them. In secret laboratories and hidden shipyards, humans reverse-engineered Council technology. They built their own faster-than-light drives, their own weapons, their own fleet. Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Tess Indomitable, humanity's first true warship. She was 53 years old, with gray streaks in her black hair and scars from the Belt Wars written across her hands. She had fought pirates and rebels in humanity's early expansion to Mars and the asteroid colonies. Now she commanded something much larger, the Terran Expeditionary Fleet, 500 ships built in the darkness between worlds where Council sensors could not see. Humanity's secret answer to their cage. But the fleet had never launched. Every year the debate raged on Earth. Should they break out? Should they make the Council acknowledge them? Or should they wait and prepare? Then everything changed. It started at the edge of the galaxy in a region the Council called the Outer Rim. A distress signal, then silence. A colony world, home to 3 billion beings, simply stopped responding. The Council sent a fleet to investigate. Only one ship came back. The captain was Morthal, a veteran with 50 years of service. When he spoke to the Council, his voice shook. They came from beyond, he said. From the darkness between galaxies. Ships like nothing in our records. They did not negotiate. They did not communicate. They just consumed. The enemy had no name in any Council language. The survivors called them the Devourers. They moved through systems like locusts, stripping every planet of resources and life. Their ships were organic, grown rather than built. Their weapons dissolved matter at a molecular level. The Council rallied its fleets. 47 species contributed ships, creating an armada of 10,000 vessels. They met the Devourers at the Helios Cluster, a strategic system that protected 5 major trade routes. The battle lasted 6 hours. The Council lost 60% of its fleet. High Arbiter Zelnoth watched the defeat from his command center. His hands trembled as casualty reports flooded in. Entire species had lost their only warships. Colonies were defenseless. The Devourers were advancing on 3 fronts and nothing could stop them. "We need more ships," his military advisor said. "More weapons. More soldiers." "We have nothing left," Zelnoth replied. His voice was hollow. "We spent 10,000 years at peace. We forgot how to fight." The advisor hesitated. Then he spoke carefully. "There is one option." The humans' silence filled the room. Every eye turned to Zelnoth. "No," the High Arbiter said. "They are dangerous, unpredictable." "They are warriors," the advisor countered. "Their entire evolution prepared them for war. If anyone can fight the Devourers, it is them." Zelnoth closed his eyes. He thought of the quarantine, of the decision made 2 centuries ago, of how the Council had locked humanity away because they were afraid. Now that fear might save them, or doom them. He gave the order. A single encrypted message was sent toward Earth, piercing through the quarantine network on a secure channel. It contained 3 words in the human language English, followed by coordinates and tactical data about the Devourers. The message said, "We need you." On Earth, in the command center buried deep beneath the Colorado mountains, alarms sounded. Technicians stared at their screens in disbelief. For 200 years, the Council had maintained absolute silence. Now suddenly they were calling. Admiral Vasquez was pulled from a planning meeting. She read the message 3 times. Then she looked at her staff. "Get me the Security Council," she said, "and prep the fleet. I think our cage just opened." Above Earth, 500 warships began powering their engines. Humanity's long silence was about to end. The debate lasted 18 hours. In the United Nations Assembly Hall, representatives from every nation on Earth argued about the Council's message. Some wanted revenge for the quarantine. Others wanted to ignore the plea entirely. A few saw opportunity. "They locked us away like criminals," the Russian delegate shouted. "Now they want our help? Let them burn. Millions of innocents will die," the Japanese delegate countered. "Are we so petty that we would let beings suffer for the crimes of their leaders?" Admiral Vasquez stood at the podium waiting for her turn to speak. She wore her dress uniform, medals gleaming under the lights. When the room finally quieted, she stepped forward. "I fought in the Belt Wars," she began. Her voice carried through the chamber. "I watched good people die over rocks and ice. I know the cost of war, but I also know what we are." She touched a control. Holographic images appeared, showing the Devourer's path of destruction. Dead worlds, broken ships, cities turned to ash. "We are human," Vasquez continued. "We fight. We always have. But we also protect. We stand between the darkness and the light even when no one asks us to. That is what makes us different from them." She pointed at the images. "The Council was afraid of us because we came from a hard world. Because we know violence. But violence is not evil. It is a tool. And right now the galaxy needs someone who knows how to use that tool." The vote was close. But in the end, humanity chose to act. The fleet launched 3 days later. 500 warships rose from hidden bases across the solar system. Some had been built in the asteroid belt, using materials from dead moons. Others came from shipyards on Mars, camouflaged to look like mining facilities. The largest vessels had been assembled in the darkness beyond Neptune, where Council sensors never reached. Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching her fleet form up. The ships did not look like Council vessels. Those were elegant, curved, designed for beauty as much as function. Human ships were angular and brutal. They looked like what they were, weapons. "All ships report ready," her tactical officer said. "Then let's go say hello." Vasquez replied. "Navigation, take us through the quarantine line." The fleet accelerated. Human drives worked differently than Council technology. The aliens used graviton manipulation, bending space around their ships. Humans had developed quantum tunneling drives, punching through reality itself. It was faster, rougher, more dangerous. As they crossed the quarantine boundary, automated defense platforms activated. For a moment, every human held their breath. Would the stations fire? They did not. The Council had remotely shut them down. "They really are desperate," Vasquez's first officer observed. "Or smart," Vasquez said. "They know they cannot stop us. Better to let us through than give us a reason to shoot." Ambassador Cuthrack waited at the rendezvous point in his personal shuttle. When the human fleet emerged from quantum space, he felt his scales ripple with an emotion he rarely experienced. Awe. The ships were massive. The smallest was twice the size of a council cruiser. The largest dwarfed anything in the galactic database, and there were so many of them. His communication console activated. A human face appeared, female with dark eyes that seemed to measure him instantly. I am Admiral Elena Vasquez, commander of the Terran Expeditionary Fleet. Identify yourself. Ambassador Cuthrack of the Vryn Diplomatic Corps. He replied in careful English. I have been authorized by the Council to brief you on the Devourer threat. Vasquez's expression did not change. You are the one who argued against the quarantine. Cuthrack was surprised. You know this? We have been listening for 200 years, Ambassador. We know everything about the Council. Your politics, your factions, your fears, she paused, including those who wanted to help us. Then you know there are members of the Council who oppose your arrival. Some would rather face the Devourers than accept human assistance. Their choice, Vasquez said coldly. We did not come for them. We came because it was the right thing to do. Now tell me about the enemy. Cuthrack transmitted tactical data, star charts showing the Devourers' advance, ship specifications, battle recordings. The Admiral studied everything in silence, her face grim. How long until they reach Council Core worlds? She asked. 3 days. Perhaps 4. Then we do not have time for politics. Transmit the coordinates of the most likely attack vector. We will intercept them there. Admiral, the Council will want to coordinate. No. Vasquez's voice cut through his words like a blade. They had 200 years to coordinate with us. They chose isolation. Now they get results, not consultation. She terminated the connection. Cuthrack sat in his shuttle, staring at the blank screen. He had spent decades studying humans, but he realized he had only understood them through data. Now he saw them as they truly were, predators who had learned mercy. But predators nonetheless. The Terran fleet moved deeper into Council space. As they traveled, every species in the galaxy watched. Quantum relay stations transmitted images across thousands of light years. In homes and habitats, beings gathered around displays to see the humans who had been locked away. They are smaller than I thought, a Threxian merchant commented, watching a crew transfer from one ship to another. Size does not matter, his mate replied. Look at their ships. Look at how they move. Those are not explorers. Those are killers. On the Council homeworld, High Arbiter Zelnoth convened an emergency session. The chamber was packed with representatives from 47 species. The humans have crossed into our territory, he announced. They refuse to coordinate with our command structure. They are proceeding independently to engage the Devourers. Then recall them, someone shouted. Order them back. With what authority? Zelnoth asked bitterly. We begged for their help. We opened their cage. Now we must trust that the predators we released will hunt our enemies, not us. What if they turn on us after? Another voice called. The chamber fell silent. It was the question everyone had, but no one wanted to voice. Ambassador Cuthrack stood. Then we will have learned an important lesson about cages. When you imprison someone unjustly, you should not be surprised if they remember it. The words hung in the air like a judgment. Meanwhile, the Terran fleet reached the outer edge of the Zephyr system. This was the heart of Council territory, where the central government building stood on 3 connected planets. If the Devourers reached here, the Council would fall. Admiral Vasquez received a transmission from High Arbiter Zelnoth himself. Human fleet, you must turn back. This is restricted space. You do not have authorization. Authorization? Vasquez interrupted. You asked us to come, we came. Now stand aside and let us work. I cannot allow— You have 2 choices, Vasquez said. Her voice was calm but absolute. Stand aside or explain to your people why you started a war with the only fleet capable of stopping the Devourers. The transmission went silent. 1 minute passed. Then 2. Finally, Zelnoth's voice returned. The Council fleet will withdraw to defensive positions around the inner planets. You may proceed. As the Council ships pulled back, the human fleet advanced. They passed through formations of alien vessels, and everywhere they went, communication channels fell silent. Species that had never known fear suddenly understood what it meant to be prey. On 1,000 worlds, beings watched the same sight. The Terran fleet, dark and terrible, moving through the stars like a promise of violence. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what humanity would do, and in the darkness ahead, the Devourers were coming. The Devourers arrived first. They came from the direction of the galactic rim, where light from distant stars took millions of years to reach civilized space. Their fleet was enormous, over 3,000 ships of varying sizes. Each vessel looked organic, like something grown in a nightmare. Bone-white hulls covered in what looked like veins. Weapons that pulsed with sickly green light. Council sensors detected them when they entered the Zephyr system. Alarms rang across every inhabited world. Civilians evacuated to underground shelters. The remaining Council fleet, barely 2,000 ships, formed defensive lines around the core planets. "They outnumber us," the fleet commander reported to High Arbiter Zelnoth, "and they are still recovering from the last battle. We cannot win this." Zelnoth stood in the Council chambers looking at the tactical display. Red symbols showed the Devourers advancing. Blue symbols showed his own forces, too few and too damaged to matter. "Where are the humans?" he asked. "Still 2 hours away at maximum speed." "We do not have 2 hours." As if hearing his words, the Devourers opened fire. Green beams lanced across space, striking Council ships. Where the beams hit, metal simply ceased to exist, dissolving into nothing. Ships broke apart. Crews died. The battle had begun, and it was already lost. Then space tore open. Quantum ruptures appeared across the battlefield, reality splitting like fabric. Through those holes came the Terran fleet, arriving faster than should have been possible. 500 ships emerged directly between the Council forces and the Devourers. The human vessels did not slow down. They did not hail. They simply broadcast a single message on all frequencies, in every language the Council used. "Stand aside." Admiral Vasquez watched the enemy through her bridge displays. So these were the Devourers. They were indeed organic, probably some sort of engineered species. She had seen things like them before in theoretical studies and horror stories. Now they were real. "All ships, weapons free," she commanded. Engagement pattern Delta 7. "Kill everything that glows green." The Terran fleet opened fire. Human weapons were different from Council technology. The aliens used energy beams and plasma bursts, elegant and efficient. Humans used mass, kinetic energy, violence in its purest form. Railguns fired slugs of tungsten at a fraction of light speed. Nuclear-tipped missiles streaked across the void. Laser arrays designed to cut through asteroid ice turned their focus on living ships. And when the distance closed enough, humans used their oldest weapon, explosives. The Devourers had never faced anything like it. Their organic hulls could regenerate from energy damage, healing almost as fast as they were hurt. But solid metal traveling at incredible speeds did not care about healing. Tungsten slugs punched through ships from end to end. Nuclear detonations vaporized entire vessels. Missiles with shaped charges tore into the organic cores where the Devourers' intelligence resided. Across the galaxy, billions watched through quantum relays. They saw human ships moving in perfect coordination, like a school of predatory fish. They saw the brutal efficiency of Earth's weapons. They saw the Devourers, which had seemed unstoppable, dying. On the Council homeworld, a Threxian mother held her child close as they watched. "Are the humans saving us?" the child asked. "Yes," she whispered. "But look at their eyes. Look at how they fight." The child watched a human vessel ram directly into a Devourer ship 3 times its size, both exploding in a ball of fire. "They are not afraid," he said. "No," his mother agreed. "They are not. And that is what terrifies me." The battle raged for 3 hours. Human ships dodged and weaved through Devourer formations. When energy beams struck human hulls, armor ablated away, but the ships kept fighting. When human vessels were too damaged to continue, they did not retreat. Instead, they positioned themselves as shields for intact ships, using their dying hulls to protect others. Admiral Vasquez stood on her bridge, blood running from a cut on her forehead where she had been thrown against a console. The Indomitable had taken 17 hits. Life support was failing on decks 12 through 18, but her weapons still worked. "Target that command vessel," she ordered, pointing at the largest Devourer ship. All forward batteries concentrated fire. 20 railguns fired simultaneously. The slugs hit within milliseconds of each other, creating a cascade failure in the enemy ship's structure. The vessel split in half, both pieces tumbling through space. Around them, the tide was turning. Human ships were burning, dead, and dying, but for every human vessel lost, 4 or 5 devourers died. The math was brutal but simple. Humanity was winning. In the council chambers, High Arbiter Zelnoth watched in silence. Ambassador Cathrak stood beside him, his scales rigid with emotion. "They are magnificent," Cathrak whispered. "They are terrifying," Zelnoth corrected. "Look at them. They do not hesitate. They do not question. They see an enemy and they destroy it with absolute commitment. Is that not what we needed? Yes, and that is what terrifies me." On the quantum relays, something strange happened. All across the galaxy, communication channels fell silent. Species that had been broadcasting constantly, debating and discussing and arguing, simply stopped talking. They watched the battle in absolute quiet. The Threxian word for it was Keralth, the moment when prey realizes it is in the presence of an apex predator, when every instinct screams to be still, to be quiet, to not draw attention. The stars themselves seemed to fall silent. The galaxy held its breath. The final Devourer ship died 4 hours after the battle began. A human destroyer, the Tess Relentless, launched its last 3 missiles into the enemy vessel's core. The Devourer exploded in a flash of green light, and then there was nothing but debris in the void. Admiral Vasquez looked at her casualty reports. 147 ships lost. Over 30,000 crew members dead. Thousands more wounded. Nearly a third of her fleet gone. "Open a channel to the Council," she ordered. Her voice was hoarse from shouting commands. "All frequencies." High Arbiter Zelnoth's face appeared on the main screen. He looked old, tired, afraid. "It is done," Vasquez said. "The Devourers are destroyed." "You saved us," Zelnoth replied. "The Council is in your debt. We did not come for debt. We came because it was right." She paused. "But there is something you need to know. We detected 7 more Devourer swarms in deep space heading toward the galaxy. Bigger than this one. They will arrive in the next year." The color drained from Zelnoth's face. 7 more? Your fleets cannot stop them. You know this. You need us. What do you want? Vasquez's eyes were hard as steel. "End the quarantine. Give Earth a seat on the Council, and let us do what we were born to do. Protect those who cannot protect themselves." Zelnoth closed his eyes. He had lived for 4 centuries. He had seen peace reign for 10,000 years. And now, in a single day, everything had changed. "I will bring your demands to the Council," he said finally. "Not demands," Vasquez corrected. "Terms. You asked the Predators to protect you. Now you have to let us out of the cage." The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, the silence continued. Species that had ruled the stars for millennia suddenly understood a new truth. Humanity had arrived. And nothing would ever be the same. In 1,000,000 homes, parents held their children closer. In 1,000 government buildings, leaders made contingency plans. In the darkness of space, ships quietly changed course, moving away from human-controlled regions. The galaxy had been saved. But now it had a new fear, not the Devourers from beyond the rim, but the humans who had shown them what true violence looked like. And somewhere in the wreckage of the battle, a human pilot ejected from her dying ship whispered into her emergency beacon, "Worth it." Those 2 words would be repeated across Earth when the casualty lists arrived. Worth it, the price of stepping onto the galactic stage, the cost of proving humanity's place among the stars. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would come next. The Council debated for 7 days. Representatives from 47 species gathered in the Grand Chamber on Zentros Prime, the political heart of the galaxy. Outside, protests filled the streets. Some demanded humanity be accepted. Others wanted the quarantine restored immediately, even if it meant war. High Arbiter Zelnoth sat at the center of the chamber, feeling every one of his 400 years. Before him, holographic displays showed the damage from the battle. Wrecked ships, dead worlds from earlier Devourer attacks, and in the middle of it all, the human fleet, still holding position at the edge of the Zephyr system. "They are waiting for our answer," Ambassador Cathrak said quietly. "I know," Zelnoth replied. "But what answer can I give? Half the Council wants to grant them full membership. The other half wants to declare them enemies of the state. They saved us, and now we fear them. Is that not ironic?" The debate continued. A Threxian representative stood, his purple skin flushed with emotion. "The humans fight like demons. They ram their own ships into enemies. They use nuclear weapons without hesitation.
They are barbaric.
They are effective, countered a Vryn diplomat. We lost 60% of our fleet against the Devourers. The humans won with 30% losses. Do you understand what that means? They are 3 times more efficient at warfare than we are.
That is exactly why we should fear them.
Ambassador Cuthrack stood. The chamber quieted. He was respected even by those who disagreed with him. We created this problem, he said. 200 years ago we found a species that was young and aggressive. Instead of guiding them, we locked them away. We called them dangerous and refused to let them learn from us. And what did they do? He activated a hologram showing human technological progress. They learned anyway. They studied us from afar. They built ships that surpass our own. They developed tactics we never imagined. We tried to stop their growth, and instead we created something that grew beyond our control. So what do you propose? Selnoth asked. Accept them. Teach them. Show them there is another way besides violence, or continue to treat them as prisoners, and eventually they will treat us as jailers. The vote took 3 days. In the end, it was close. 24 species voted to grant humanity conditional membership. 20 voted against. 3 abstained. The conditions were strict. Earth would have a voice in the council, but not a vote. Not yet. Human ships could operate in council space, but under council observation. Humanity would share their military technology and training methods. And they would defend the galaxy against the Devourers. When Admiral Vasquez received the council's decision, she laughed bitterly. Conditional membership, she said to her staff. They want us to fight their wars but not have a say in their politics. It is a beginning, her first officer said. It is an insult. She looked at the document again. But it is also a door, and once we are through it, we can kick it open wider. She sent her response to the council. Accepted. The change happened quickly. Human ships spread across council space, establishing defensive positions around key systems. Vasquez began training programs for alien species, teaching them human combat tactics. The lessons were brutal. You move too slowly, a human instructor barked at a class of Threxian soldiers. Your ships are too far apart. The enemy will cut through you like paper. We maintain proper formation, the Threxian commander protested. Proper formation gets you killed. Proper formation is predictable. You need to be chaos. Organized chaos, but chaos nonetheless. The alien soldiers struggled. Everything humans taught contradicted their training. Humans fought at close range. They took risks. They sacrificed individual ships for fleet advantage. It was insane, but it worked. On the council homeworld, cultural exchange programs began. Human music played in alien markets. Human literature was translated into 100 languages. Human food, spicy and complex, became fashionable in restaurants. Some species embraced it. Others recoiled. They poison their food for flavor, a Zentran complained. They listen to music so loud it damages hearing. They watch entertainment about violence and death. How can we trust such beings? They also write poetry, Cuthrack replied. They create art that makes you weep. They have a concept called love that drives them to incredible sacrifice. They are complex like any species. We simply fear them because they are good at something we have forgotten. Survival. Not everyone was convinced. In secret meetings across the galaxy, certain species plotted. They researched human weaknesses, biological vulnerabilities, chemical compounds that might affect human biology. They developed weapons specifically designed to counter human tactics. They called it prudent preparation. Others called it what it was: fear. 6 months after the battle, the first Devourer probe entered council space. It was small, barely the size of a shuttle. Human sensors detected it at the galactic rim and intercepted it within hours. Admiral Vasquez studied the probe's remains. It was a scout, gathering information about the galaxy's defenses, which meant the main swarms were coming. How long? She asked her science officer. Based on its trajectory and data collection? 6 months, maybe 8. And we counted 7 swarms in deep space. Yes, ma'am. Each one potentially larger than what we faced before. Vasquez sent the data to the council. The response was panic. Emergency sessions. Frantic ship construction. Evacuation plans for core worlds. The galaxy was preparing for war on a scale it had never seen. But there was another problem. The council's shipyards could not produce enough vessels. Their military academies could not train crews fast enough. They had lived in peace for so long that they had forgotten how to mobilize for war. Humanity had not forgotten. Earth's industries shifted to total war production. Asteroid mining operations doubled their output. Shipyards worked around the clock. Every human who could fight volunteered. Within months, the Terran fleet grew from 500 ships to 1,500. How? Zelnoth asked Vasquez during a strategy meeting.
How can you build so fast?
Because we remember, she replied. Our history is written in wars. World wars, civil wars, colonial wars. We know how to turn an entire civilization toward a single purpose. You call it barbaric. We call it survival. Ambassador Cuthrak noticed something else during this time. Human officers were training alien crews, yes, but they were also learning. They studied alien technology, asked questions, observed how different species approached problems. You are gathering intelligence, he said to Vasquez one evening over dinner in the human embassy. She did not deny it. Would you not do the same? We have been isolated for 2 centuries. Now we have access to 47 different civilizations, their technology, their culture, their knowledge. Of course, we are learning everything we can. Some on the council would call that espionage. Some on the council would call breathing aggressively if humans did it. We cannot change who we are. We can only try to be the best version of ourselves. Cuthrak studied her. You're not planning to leave after the Devourers are defeated, are you?
Leave?
Vasquez smiled. Ambassador, we just got here. The galaxy is vast and full of wonders. Why would we ever leave? That is what they fear. That you will stay. That you will grow. That eventually you will dominate. Then they should have thought of that before they locked us up for 200 years. You do not imprison someone's potential and expect them not to use it when they finally get free. The conversation haunted Cuthrak. He reported it to Zelnoth, who received the news with resignation. So we have unleashed something we cannot control, the High Arbiter said. Perhaps, Cuthrak replied, or perhaps we have gained an ally that will help us survive what is coming. The Devourers are not the only threat in the universe. There are other dangers, other challenges. Humanity gives us something we lost long ago, the will to fight. At what cost? That depends on us. If we treat them as equals, they may become friends. If we treat them as threats, they will become enemies. The choice is ours. Across the galaxy, humanity established embassies on a dozen worlds. Human traders began shipping goods between systems. Human scientists collaborated with alien researchers. Human artists performed for alien audiences. The integration was messy and complicated. There were incidents, fights in bars, cultural misunderstandings. One human ship accidentally violated a religious taboo and nearly caused a diplomatic crisis. But slowly, carefully, humanity found its place among the stars. And in the darkness beyond the galactic rim, 7 massive swarms of devourer ships drew closer. The galaxy had 6 months to prepare, 6 months to build, 6 months to train, 6 months to hope that humanity was enough. The 7 swarms arrived simultaneously. It was coordinated, planned. The Devourers had learned from their first defeat. They did not come piecemeal. They came as a wave, hitting the galaxy from 7 different vectors at once. 3,000 ships in each swarm, 21,000 vessels total, all hungry for life and resources. The Council had prepared as best they could. Their rebuilt fleets numbered 8,000 ships. Human reinforcements brought another 1,500. Combined forces from both, barely half of what the enemy possessed. But numbers were not everything. Humanity had taught the galaxy that lesson. Admiral Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, now repaired and upgraded. Around her, the combined Galactic Defense Force assembled. Human ships formed the vanguard, but beside them flew vessels from 20 different species, all trained in human tactics. This is it, she said to her crew. Everything we have prepared for. Everything we have sacrificed for. Today we show the universe that this galaxy belongs to us. The fleets met the Devourers in 7 simultaneous battles across the galactic rim. Each engagement was brutal. Each one cost lives. But this time the Council forces did not break. Threxian cruisers used aggressive maneuvers learned from human instructors. Frin frigates coordinated quantum-level timing that humanity had taught them. Zentran dreadnoughts fired with precision and violence that would have been unthinkable a year ago. The galaxy had learned to fight. At the Helios cluster, where the Council had suffered its first defeat, the rematch played out differently. Admiral Vasquez commanded the defense personally, coordinating 3 species worth of ships against the largest Devourer swarm. All ships, pattern Omega, she commanded. Let them taste Earth. The fleet split into 3 groups. One drew the Devourers forward, appearing to retreat. When the enemy gave chase, the other 2 groups hit them from the sides. Classic hammer and anvil. Humans had used the tactic for thousands of years. It worked. Devourer ships died by the hundreds. Their organic hulls, evolved to regenerate from energy damage, could not adapt fast enough to kinetic weapons and nuclear fire. The swarm began to break apart, individual ships fleeing rather than facing annihilation. No mercy, Vasquez ordered. Hunt them all down. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. The combined defense force fought with coordination and fury. Ships were lost. Crews died. But for every Allied vessel destroyed, the Devourers lost 5. The battles raged for 2 days. When the last Devourer ship finally fell, the galaxy counted its casualties. 4,000 ships lost, millions of beings dead, entire military traditions from a dozen species, erased in brutal combat. But they had won. High Arbiter Zelnoth appeared on every quantum relay in the galaxy. He looked older than ever, but his voice was steady. Today, we have proven that we can stand against the darkness, not because we were strong individually, but because we stood together. Humanity taught us this. They showed us that survival requires not just technology, but will. Not just ships, but courage, he paused. Effective immediately, Earth is granted full membership in the Galactic Council. Let no one question their place among us. They have earned it in blood and fire. The announcement caused controversy. Some species celebrated, others protested. But the decision was final. Humanity was here to stay. On Earth, celebrations filled the streets. Humanity had joined the galactic community not as beggars, but as warriors. Not as students, but as teachers. The quarantine that had lasted 200 years was finally, truly over. Admiral Vasquez was promoted to Marshal of the Combined Galactic Defense Force. It was the highest military position in the Council, commanding all forces across all species. A human in charge of the galaxy's defense. The symbolism was not lost on anyone. Ambassador Cathrak became the official liaison between the Council and Earth. He moved to the human embassy on Zentros Prime, learning to drink coffee and eat sandwiches. He found he enjoyed both. "You have changed the galaxy," he told Vasquez one evening as they reviewed defense plans. "We simply showed you who we are," she replied. "That is what worries some. They wonder what else you are hiding." Vasquez smiled but said nothing. The truth was humanity was hiding something important. In a secure facility deep beneath the Colorado mountains, Earth Security Council convened in secret. Present were the heads of every major nation, the senior military commanders and Admiral Vasquez herself, attending via quantum link. "The question is whether we tell them," the Secretary General of the United Nations said, "about Project Exodus. About how long we have really known about faster-than-light travel." "Not yet," Vasquez advised. "Let them think we developed FTL during the quarantine. Let them believe we are simply tough primates who got lucky. They are not ready for the truth, which is," someone asked, "that we have been traveling the stars longer than they know, that we discovered FTL drives 80 years before first contact, that the quarantine only trapped Sol system, not our colony ships that were already spreading through the outer regions." The room fell silent. This was humanity's greatest secret. While the Council thought they had contained Earth, human colony ships had been establishing hidden settlements throughout the galaxy. Watching, learning, preparing. "How many colonies now?" the Secretary General asked. 47, a military officer replied. "All hidden in systems the Council considers uninhabitable or unremarkable. Each one developing independently, but all connected through secure quantum networks. So when we broke the quarantine, we were simply revealing what we had already done. The Council has been watching Earth. They never thought to look beyond it." Vasquez spoke again. "The Devourers are defeated, but they are not the only threat. There are other dangers in the universe. Ancient species in the galactic core. Things in the darkness between galaxies. Phenomena we do not yet understand. The Council has grown complacent. They need us. And we need them," the Secretary General added. "Their technology. Their knowledge." their civilization. Together we are stronger. Agreed, Vasquez said. But we maintain the colonies as insurance. If the Council ever turns on us, we have fallback positions. We will never be caged again. The meeting ended with unanimous agreement. Humanity would integrate with the Council, but on their own terms. They would protect the galaxy, but they would also grow, expand, and secure their own future. Across the stars, in 47 hidden systems, human colonies continued their work. Building ships, training soldiers, advancing technology, all of it invisible to Council sensors, all of it waiting. Months passed. The galaxy settled into a new normal. Human ships patrolled trade routes. Human diplomats negotiated treaties. Human culture spread like wildfire, fascinating and terrifying in equal measure. Some species embraced humanity eagerly, others kept their distance. A few plotted in secret, convinced that humans would eventually dominate everything. They were probably right. Ambassador Kathrak noticed patterns in human behavior. How they asked too many questions. How their ships appeared in unexpected places. How their technology advanced faster than should be possible, even with Council knowledge shared. One evening, he confronted Vasquez directly. "You are still hiding something," he said. "I can see it. Humanity is not what it appears to be." Vasquez looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled. "Every species has secrets, Ambassador. The question is not what we are hiding, but whether you can live with not knowing. Should I be worried? That depends. Do you trust us?" Kathrak considered. Humanity had saved the galaxy. They had fought and died alongside Council forces. They had proven themselves time and again. But there was something in Vasquez's eyes. Something ancient and calculating. "I want to," he said finally. "Then do. Trust is not about knowing everything. It is about believing in someone despite uncertainty." Kathrak left the conversation troubled, but he also realized something important. The galaxy needed humanity, secrets and all. The universe was vast and dangerous. Better to have the humans as friends than enemies. On Earth, Admiral Vasquez sent a final message to all 47 hidden colonies. Continue operations. Maintain silence. We are in the galaxy now, but our true strength remains hidden. Let the Council believe what they wish. Let them think we are simply warriors who learned fast. One day they will understand. One day they will see how long we have been preparing. She closed the transmission and looked out at the stars. Humanity had arrived. Not stumbling into the galaxy by accident, but by design. Every step calculated. Every sacrifice planned. 200 years of quarantine had not slowed them. It had given them time to prepare. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what humanity would do next. And in the darkness between stars, the Terrans smiled. They had arrived. Not as supplicants or equals, but as something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. Humanity was here, and nothing would ever be the same.